Let's keep it in baseball, where the Yankees went from leading their division to fighting for their playoff lives. New York hoping for some home cooking that'll help them after losing 5 out of 6 on the road against the Marlins and Rangers. The Yankees are 26-34 since late May, when they held a 7-game lead atop the American League East. And after a win on Wednesday, skipper Aaron Boone saying, quote, "We got to dig ourselves out here. But as I said, it's there for us. I'm steadfast and I believe we have a great run in us." New York has 47 games left to erase a 6.5-game lead in the division. As for, you see there, the wild card, as Sportsline only giving the Pinstripes a less than 15% chance to win the division. The wild card has them in a little bit of a better spot. Sportsline giving the Bronx Bombers an 83% chance in the standings to hold that third and final spot. All right. Will Middlebrooks back with us here on HQ. So look, as a guy that has Williams and Weaver on his fantasy team, things have not been great either as a fantasy manager or as a Yankees fan. And then you throw in the rotation with All-Stars Fried and Rodon struggling as of late there, Dub and B. What are we making of just the pitching as a whole for New York?
Yeah, so let's look at the starting pitching first. I mean, Max Fried is, you look at the season numbers, he's 12-4 with a 2.78. Sounds like he's having a great year, right, Tommy? I mean, those are really good numbers. But if you go back to around July 1st, his last 6-7 starts, the ERA is sitting around 6. That's a big problem, right? And then you look at Carlos Rodon for the season, 11-7, 3.35 ERA, really solid numbers. But a lot like Max Fried, the last 6 to 7 starts back to the early July, his ERA is around 5. So with no Garrett Cole, with no Clark Smith, these are two of their arms that are leaned on heavily to give you a chance to win every night that they step on the mound. And it's just not happening right now. And I think a big part of this, now that this, I could be completely wrong, but I think you can blame a lot of this on the defensive play behind them. I mean, it's not just the errors that are made, it's the balls that they're not getting to right now. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is that when a pitcher's defense is scuffling, they pitch different. And all of a sudden, there's a massive shift in approach from early count weak contact and just filling it up to all of a sudden there's all this pressure that they have to strike everyone out because they don't trust the defense behind them. And that's when you see all these 3-ball counts, full counts, pitch counts around 80 in the 4th and 5th inning, and they're not working deep into games. Now, when that happens, obviously ERA gets up. Obviously, you get into the bullpen early, and you're having to pull a lot of innings out of other people, and that's just not a recipe for success, especially for a team like the Yankees.
I think you bring up an interesting point, and if we then funnel that conversation into Anthony Volpe, he never really had a magical bat by any means, right, Will? But he certainly had the defense. What's happened as of late, and does Aaron Boone have anywhere else to go in terms of moving on from him?
Well, the bat has, we'll say, heated up a little bit lately. He's hitting more home runs, at least, though the average is still low. But there's 18 qualified shortstops, Tommy, that have a higher OPS. And then, yes, he leads all of baseball in errors, which makes that even that much worse. And it just seems like every single night he boots a routine ball, or he throws one in the stands, or he misses his target completely. And at this point, you feel like it's more of a physical, or excuse me, it's not a physical or mechanical issue at this point. It's purely mental. And at this point, you feel like in the field, he's praying the ball isn't hit to him. And I've been there a couple times where you fall into these defensive slumps, but they normally last a week. Not as long as we've seen him so far. And look, it's even worse. It's magnified, obviously, because he's a shortstop for the Yankees. They're fighting to stay in the playoff race. But I would be very surprised if next season he's not moved to second base, if the offseason he's not moved. They have a big-time prospect, obviously, in George Lombard Jr., who's in Double-A, and some thinks maybe he can be the answer to that next year. But they put a lot of chips in on Volpe, thinking he was the guy, and which everyone, I thought he was too. I thought this was the next, I'll never say the next Jeter, but the next solid shortstop for the next 10+ years. I didn't expect what we're seeing this year.
Yeah, no doubt. The way he popped, I was with you. We all certainly thought that Anthony Volpe was going to be the next great big thing. I mentioned his skipper, Aaron Boone, and I think we've established, and you know very well, covering the division as well as you do, this era of Yankees baseball is unlike any of the ones that we grew up with in terms of not the expectation, which has always been there, but the patience that ownership and front office have here. Has that changed for Aaron Boone, regardless of the outcome for the Yankees, you think?
So I may be in the small handful of people that I don't put this on Aaron Boone, but at some point they will have to move on for him, because that's just how the business works. They're 19-29 going back to June 13th. Only the Twins, who had an absolute fire sale at the deadline or worse since that point, they're 18-28. But there's just certain organizations that are held to a higher standard of performance. It's the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, the big market teams with bigger money. There's a history of winning. And when fundamental baseball is a glaring issue with those rosters, it's a massive failure. And it's not just the big league level. That's what a lot of people don't realize with this. This is an organizational systemic issue. AAA, AA, single A, rookie ball. Fundamental baseball, Tommy, is just... it's not a priority in today's game. It's all about power. It's all about hitting 40 homers and throwing 100 miles an hour, exit velocity, launch angle. I know I sound like I'm an old man yelling at the clouds right now, but like moving the runners over and the importance of taking care of the baseball on the defense on defense is on the back burner. So is it a Yankee problem? It's a massive Yankee problem right now, but this is a problem all across baseball. But when you wear the pinstripes, those pinstripes get very heavy at times. And the spotlight's on them right now, as many games as they're losing. So this is a problem all across baseball, not just with them.
Before I let you go, guys, we had a great graphic of that season result for the Yankees and Aaron Boone, where they've gotten to the postseason, even to the World Series last year. So, Will, I'm gonna put it on you to fill out that question mark in 2025. Do they make the playoffs? And if so, what's the playoff result?
As much as I want to give up on them and say no, they're not going to, but that it might be wishful thinking with all the Red Sox memorabilia in my office around me right now. But I still think they can. I don't think this lasts. I think they're in the bottom of a valley right now, and things are terrible. And I think they got better at the trade deadline. Obviously, the arms they brought over for the bullpen were not good in that first series in Miami, but they haven't improved. Bednar looked better. He had a 42-pitch save 2 nights ago. I just think Kansas City, Texas, Cleveland, I think the Yankees are still a better team than them. They're going to need a little more from Aaron Judge. He has not, I'm not going to say struggled, but he's been a little closer to average. He needs to be a superhero for them to play well, and he'll get it going again. So I'm going to say they still get that 3rd wild card spot. I'll go with that.
All right, it's interesting. They still have shorter odds than even the Red Sox to win the pennant and the World Series. Double play with Will Middlebrooks. Thanks, WMB. Taking a look at today's notable games, a much larger slate than what we saw yesterday. Yesterday, we just had 4 games, but highlighted by Paul Skeens, who got the win, giving up 7 hits, though, with 9 strikeouts. Late game, Blue Jays and Dodgers, as we talked about, Scherzer and Kershaw.